Okay, this lesson is going to be a little bit harder because of the fact that in the midst of playing the game, you're sort of having to make a lot of very split second decisions that ultimately decide whether or not you win or lose. And sometimes you make the wrong decision. I see a lot of people a lot of times thinking that, like, oh, you're the flanker, you should be attacking the supports, or you should be attacking this person, or you shouldn't be focusing the tank. And while it is true that you should definitely prioritize the supports, sometimes the supports are not as easily accessible, or sometimes you should be focusing on DPS, but sometimes that DPS isn't as out of position. Who you should ultimately focus on is who is out of position and who is making that mistake. Well, it is definitely best if you have the capability to target the squishy characters, especially the supports, to get the team to fall over. However, sometimes if all you can do is shoot the tank, then that's what you do. Um, so I have a couple of games here to use as examples that have good good examples of showing how I changed my prioritization and my thinking as I'm playing and as it's evolving. So this one you can see we were locked on this point pretty badly on the first point here. We just could not break through. And as Groot goes forward, he gets walled off and he gets himself killed immediately. And now right away, I can't really do anything as we're a man down. Once again, I always talk about that numbers game. It's very difficult to try and push and win a 6v5. So you just kind of like wait, regroup because our Groot died and got nothing out of it. No one was low. There was no chance to even capitalize on anything. I actually tried to drop down for the health pack and I just messed up. But luckily, so did the Black Panther. So we both suck. But now I'm waiting. Now that I know Groot is back, I have to get health and I have to get in that fight. I heard the enemy rocket alt, which means the moment that I heard that alt, it means our team is fighting and I'm not there. So I'm trying to get back into the fight as fast as possible while also safely. Magic immediately takes someone out. Cloak alts, and I'm targeting the rocket because of the fact that rocket has the res station. If I kill him, the res station goes away. So I'm trying to see if I can get a quick pick. I ult here not because it's the best time, because with the cloak alt there, it means that I'm probably not going to kill anything. Magneto bubbled his cloak, so it was a really good bubble, and unfortunately we didn't get to cancel it. But I ult in order to stay alive because ultimately this is the last fight. There's not going to be enough time for me to come back and get another one. So here I'm just pumping damage, right? I'm pumping damage because of the fact that it's all I can do in this moment, and I am trying to assess the situation. Rocket is hiding behind his tanks, which is excellent positioning. And as I'm pumping damage into these guys, nothing is happening. I see our Groot alt, and because of the fact that I had noticed that Cloak was up top, just pumping heals for free, I was like, I'm just going to go for her. Because even if Groot alted, because it's two tanks, there's not enough damage output from me with the healing from Rocket and Cloak to kill either one of them. So I readjust mid-fight using my mobility. This is something that I can do because I'm Psylocke, and go for a quick execute, right? Now I know that there's only one other support left, which is Rocket. And now there's no one here to contest me with him as I hop on him. And even if he is surviving right now, like he survives, he heals, he gets the med pack, he's not healing his tanks. And now I come back out and now I'm focusing the tank because we're all focusing. They have no supports and they have no numbers. So it doesn't matter who's left at this point. You can focus the tank despite the fact that there are squishies left. But because of the fact that we have the numbers and the focus, it's much easier to just burn through people. It doesn't matter who they are. And there's the magic, and then she dies, and then there's the Black Panther, and he dies too. But you see how, like, during the fight, and as I was engaging, I was at times shooting the tank to charge my ult as I was engaging. I was then fighting the Black Panther, and then as I was re-engaging into the fight, I was shooting the tanks. And then once I noticed and I had my abilities, then I could go for the supports. But I can't always just immediately drop everything and go to the supports. I'm trying to constantly be as efficient as possible in applying pressure everywhere and applying some sort of value for my uptime. I don't want to just ever just be sitting there waiting for the perfect moment. I want to maximize my efficiency in all of my entirety of my life. And here we cap the point. Here we go, the next one. This one's a little bit longer. This one's not as clean, right? It's not as simple as just being like, oh, there's two supports, so I'm going to go take out the the one support and then the other support. They're running triple support, and it's one of the worst combinations. Luna, which I normally we try to ban, we didn't get to this time. Cloak and Mantis, but here people would say, "Oh, just go flank the supports. Just go flank the supports." But here, this Magneto is just out of position. I'm not going to go and flank one of the supports because of the fact that I can tell right now, right here, this guy is out of position. You can focus a tank if he's out of position. You can shoot a tank if he's out of position. Who you're trying to punish in the game isn't necessarily the supports. If there's a massive team fight going on and you can readjust your target prioritization to the supports, yes, focus the supports. But ultimately, who you're trying to kill is the person who made a mistake and who's out of position. Magneto is out of position as he continues to walk forward. He gets bursted for it. And now, this goes back to that numbers game I'm always talking about. We are in a 6v5, and they are a tank down. They are probably pissed because that's their main tank. So now they're holding this point with a Thor, right? So I go up to the high ground. I have the position. I have my ult. I drop on their heads, and I force their Luna ult early, right? I see Star-Lord is taking damage, and he's shooting at other people. I am going to now back my team up from a distance and poke, and you see how I'm always standing near cover? After I used my ult, I was immediately pulling myself back away towards the cover. So that way, as soon as it ended, I could immediately shoot at Star-Lord. And if he turned at me, I could pop around the corner and stay alive. Think ahead of what you want to do next, not just what your action is going to be, but where you're going to end up afterwards. But there, once again, I'm not focusing any supports. I'm focusing a DPS. And he happens to die because why? He's out of position. He's taking a ballsy play and no one's there to help him. Thor is pushing me and punishing me, so I'm just trying to get out. Now, they are down two players. They're down Magneto and they are down Star-Lord. Now, there's no point in me trying to go and spawn camp a Magneto, but there are more of us on the point than them. So this is a 6v4, which is a really, really fast cleanup for us. I target Mantis first because I know that that Luna just ulted and Cloak is dead. So the only person who would be possibly close to another ultimate would have been Mantis. So she's the first to die. Then I go to Luna. And now it's just basically cleanup. At this point with two tanks, whoever anyone is yelling at, you just focus that person. You push him back, I use my abilities, and I'm immediately applying pressure. I see him go to the left, so I immediately rotate with him to apply that pressure because I know he's going to want to try and touch. And even though he's getting healed from afar, because my team is there focusing him, he dies and pays for it. Here, I'm shooting the tank because I don't have the best position yet to attack any of the supports. So I'm shooting the tank and trying to apply that pressure. And because of the fact that I know that Doctor Strange has the portal between him and his team, he's not fully getting seen, which is why I'm applying pressure to him specifically. He's within my range, and he's the best one to shoot at this moment in time. I don't have a good position on anyone else. And if I rotate and try and fight the support, there might be too much downtime. But we might be able to get a pick off of the tank if I'm focusing him now. He gets low, I mess up, and he doesn't die. Mantis ulted, like I said. She was the closest one for it. And they accidentally double support ult at the same time, which is huge for us. This compression is killing me. So now I am shooting and I'm just trying to charge my ult and apply pressure. Why am I shooting at Star-Lord? Because the support ults are on the point. Star-Lord is off of the point. There's more benefit to trying to apply pressure to him than there is to trying to apply pressure to anyone else sitting in the Cloak and Dagger ult. Compression is killing me here. And right now I'm just trying to get my ult. I get my ult, and as soon as they see the Cloak ult start to fade away, dash up in the air, avoid any chance of there being a sleep or something popped on my head, but it looks like Mantis died early. I pop my ult on the squishies. I take out 2 I take out 2 supports, and I immediately dash away because right there on point are are a lot of enemies, and up close, I don't wanna fight them. So I stay at the max range that is safest for me, where I get the most amount of damage as Psylocke, but I'm also far enough away that I'm harder to hit as they focus down the 2 people in front of me who are lower health, right? This is not a bad play by them. They saw people in front of them that were low and went for them first, and I see that I'm just pumping damage into Magneto at the back because he happened to be or not Magneto, sorry, Doctor Strange. He happened to be the lowest in there, and even at this range, Psylocke can still be deadly to a tank, so I'm just pumping damage into him as safely as possible, and he dies without realizing, that he was getting low. Here now, I'm focusing the squishy because he's got the greatest chance of killing me. I survived just long enough for my support to come back, and now I execute both of them. But you saw how I went from focusing the Star Lord, and then the Star Lord got low. He tried to get to a safer position, so then the Magneto started fighting me. So then I start fighting the Magneto, and then after I fight the Magneto and I dash through him and I kill him, then Mantis comes back, helps me kill the Magneto, and then helps me get around to the side and kill the Star Lord. Who you're targeting is shifting constantly. Who you're supposed to be targeting is shifting constantly, and you're not always going to make the perfect decision in the moment that you're playing. Afterwards and after the game or after the fight, when you lose the fight, you sit there and you have to think to yourself, like, did I lose because I tried to focus the tank, or did I lose because I tried to focus the support? Like, maybe I was trying to apply too much pressure in an area that it wasn't beneficial to my team. Because you kind of have to ask yourself these questions of like, what could I have done in that situation to do better? But I think people, especially lower elo players, get locked into the idea of just like, oh, this is your job, this is your role, this is what you should do. But truth is, what your job and what your role is constantly evolving and shaping and changing as the fight goes on. Because even if I wasn't playing Psylocke and I was playing like Punisher or Hela or something else, right? You might be sitting farther back behind your team. You're not taking the same angles as the rest of your team, and you're shooting at people. And maybe you're trying to shoot at the healer, but the healer pops away around cover. Are you going to try and chase that healer, or are you going to try and focus whoever else happens to be in your LOS? You're going to focus whoever else happens to be in your LOS because you have to constantly be outputting damage, pressure, using your abilities nonstop in order to help your team out, right? Because even if you can't secure the kill, if you can push someone out of the fight, then you're still helping the immediate fight that's going on. So while you're playing, change and adjust who you're fighting and who you're focusing because even if a tank, even if it's a tank, but the tank happens to be out of position so bad, if enough people focus that tank will still fall down and die. It doesn't it doesn't matter how much health you have or what your defensive abilities are. Like if you're out of position, you can still be punished for it just the same way as the Magneto in this game here absolutely threw that last fight by being wildly out of position away from all three of his healers and nowhere near his team to back him up, right? It doesn't matter exactly like the role. What matters is if they've made a mistake and if they're out of position and whether or not you as a team can focus and capitalize on that. This is why communication in the game is important. Calling out, oh, this person's over here, this person's low, this person's this. The games that I have a lot of success in are the ones where I'm playing with my friends where they call out and say, hey, this person's low on this side. And I immediately adjust and turn. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I need to focus this person. So communicate in game. Tell people who's out of position, who doesn't have their abilities, whose alt was just used, whose alt is coming up, because that's sort of like thinking ahead and strategizing will help you win a lot more games than the mechanical aim alone. Uh, but yeah, I know it's difficult because of the fact that like in hindsight, watching this stuff back is is much easier. But in the midst, as you climb in game in ranks and get to games, you'll notice that the pace of the game speeds up, and suddenly now all those lessons, which might have been pretty easy to do and apply in gold, now all of a sudden everybody's making all those split second decisions at a much faster rate. That's all high elo games are is you're making these decisions much faster and much quicker than anyone else. So it's easy to look at all this stuff in hindsight. It's easy to look at your own VODs in hindsight, but it just through practice alone and um, repeating this sort of thought process, it will eventually get easier. But always look back and ask yourself after fights, like, maybe where could you have applied pressure and where it could have been more beneficial, like because sometimes you do need to apply more pressure to tanks or DPS and not always the supports if it means like helping your team and allowing you to walk forward better. Anyway, so that's today's lesson: target prioritization. Um, I will keep trying to come up with more ideas and more of these videos in the future. So yeah, if you have any other ideas, leave them in the comments.